Hi, I'm Terry, and we're here at the 2022 edition of the Antique Truck Show. And I'm with Ed, who's going to tell us a whole bunch about this classic. Please, what are we looking at here?
This here is a 1929 Mack AC Bulldog. This is actually the truck that earned Mack the Bulldog name. They originally came out in 1916. They were used in sent over with to Britain in World War I, and the British thought the truck was tenacious and reliable, and based on its tenacious and reliable looks. Based on its tenacious and reliable durability and its looks, they thought it reminded them a lot of the British Bulldog, and that's English Bulldog, and that's where they came up with the name Bulldog, and that ended up sticking with Mack. It later in the 30s became their moniker. But this model right here is a 29, so it's a later version of the Mack AC.
A couple of interesting things jump out at me. The first thing is it has a crank, and I remember cranks as being arm breakers. This one looks like a good example. How do you actually start this without getting hurt?
So this here truck actually has the electric start option, so most of the time you wouldn't use the crank on this particular truck, but it's there as an option anyways. The way to not hurt yourself is, one, it has to do with the settings of the magneto on the truck, that the advances and the snap advance isn't set too far advanced. The other thing is, when you go to do it, is a technique of doing it with an open hand as opposed to a closed hand. So when you don't want to grip the handle with your thumb on the other side, because that's when it can catch you and do some damage. When the thing kicks back, if you have an open hand, it has more of it's more apt to spin out of your hand as opposed to bringing your hand around and doing damage.
Now, how long have you had this truck, and what kind of shape was it in when you got it?
I bought this truck in 2010 out of an auction in Wisconsin. It was owned by a Shell oil dealer out there that had a few gas stations, and they had an oil tank on the back when I got it. It was originally came out of Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, and it was a dump truck. Somewhere along the line they just got swapped over. The truck was in running shape when we bought it. It was kind of a good from far but far from good truck. It was not everything was period correct. They had a lot of the accessories on it weren't exactly the right thing that the truck should have. So we underwent a 2015 to 2018. We completely tore the truck apart and redid it, and we think anyways we got most things period correct the way it would have come from the factory.
I noticed that this truck is also chain drive. It's not using a differential. Is that typical for trucks of that era?
So yes, it actually does have a differential. It's just not at the rear axle. It's a transaxle on this. It's actually a differential mounted right to the back of the transmission on it. And the reason it's like that is because they do the gearing through the chain. You can change the gearing easy with changing the size of the front sprocket coming off of the transaxle. Another reason for doing that is metallurgy wasn't to the point that it is now, and they weren't so sure how a typical modern day style drive shaft would take the torque to resist twisting. So they figured at that point the chain was a stronger setup.
One last question. Did you trailer this or drive it today?
I trailered this here.
Okay.
It has a top speed of about 16 to 18 miles an hour, so
it's not a real barn burner at all.
Not at all. Things used to happen quite a bit slower than we're used to them happening today. I'm sure I would have had a bunch of angry motorists had I decided to drive it over today. So we'll keep it on the trailer.
Excellent. Well, listen, thank you for taking the time to talk to us today, and I wish you the best with it.
Thank you.
Well, I'm with John, who has probably one of the most unusual trucks at the whole show. John, you want to tell us about that?
Sure. It's a 1955 Ford cab-over engine. It was started life as a auto hauler, fifth wheel, and converted to a pickup truck. It's on a 74 Econoline 1-ton chassis with a 460 Ford motor.
Did you guys get all that? You're not going to find another one of these anywhere. When did you get it?
I've owned it actually since May. I bought it mostly done, and I wired it and did some changes to it and just made it more my own.
So this is a driver. You didn't trailer this?
No, this I drove it here, and I drive it all over the place. It runs down the road real nice.
And 460 is gas, and that came with the Econoline, but the whole body is different. Did you have to shorten the frame too?
The frame is 26 inches shorter than standard.
So you had to customize the whole driveline.
Right. The frame is shortened 26 inches and boxed and channeled.
Stock suspension?
Stock suspension. The X-beam front end and 9-inch Ford rear end. C6 automatic transmission.
All right, all of you with prior military experience know what I'm standing in front of. But have you ever seen one that's just owned for the fun of it? I'm with Richard. Richard's going to tell us all about this vehicle.
Well, my name's Rick Levesque. It's a 1981 AM General. It's affectionately called a deuce and a half, and that's basically based on what it can carry, which most military will know that the Army categorizes everything by its weight, what it can carry across country. So a 5-ton can carry 5-ton across country and so on. 2.5-ton can obviously do that. Average, it can do 62 miles an hour if I push it, but we cruise at 55 just because of saving fuel. Basically, for the most part, we can drive it as a daily driver. The son will take it more than I will back and forth to work just to exercise it, because you want to make sure that you're keeping seals and all that kind of stuff tight. This one is painted after a truck that I was stationed in 1974 in Germany. This is that's all numbered for that series, that truck that I drove. It's painted in a camouflage that started in 1974. It was the very first colored camouflage we did in Germany. In the States, they use more of a green color camouflage. In Germany, we did this one. I volunteered at my company to go ahead and paint all the trucks in our company. I said, give me a crew. We did a night crew paint job, and we painted all our trucks this color. This is called a mastered paint scheme camouflage. And as far as we can tell, it's the only one painted in the whole world this color right now. So this truck's pretty unique.
This is a diesel engine truck?
Yes, it's a diesel engine. It's got a six-cylinder diesel in it. I think I said we can get 10 miles to the gallon on it average. And other than that, it's a 5-speed standard shift, no power steering.
Ouch.
It's fun. No special. This one I've used the original seats just like we did back in '74. No spring or nothing to it. It's just got the springs underneath the cushion, but that's it. No air ride or anything like that. Windshield wipers are all air operated. It's as basic hand crank windows down. It's as basic old school as you can get.
And it's about as stock as you can make it, I take it?
We tried all my military trucks. We have 5 of them. They're all originally the way they were if you walked up to a motor pool and drove them out. The only thing modern in them is we put CBs to be able to communicate in the convoys and stuff when we have a road trip.
Do you have any trouble finding parts?
No, there's parts dealers all over the country, all over the world that you can get parts from. There's some big companies that they buy up lots of them. You know, they might buy 100 trucks and then they can pot them out for years. And this company, some things are unique enough, or not unique, they're common enough that you can go ahead and they're commercial, if you will. So you can pick them up commercially as well, some parts. So.
How long have you owned it?
We've had this one about 7 years now, coming up on 7 years. I got it from government surplus out of Hopkinton, Mass. It came from the Hopkinton Forest Service.
I think you're the first one that I've ever met that actually bought from surplus successfully.
Yeah, a lot of people will buy them from other people who have already bought them. You can buy direct from government first edition. It used to be a lot cheaper, but now another company has the contract, so their prices have gone up on them. But if you look, when you start looking to purchase a surplus truck, you find out that somebody 2 houses down from you has had one for years. They're all over. You can get them, and depending on how much work you want to put into them, you can get them relatively cheap. You can get in a surplus truck for $3,000–4,000.
Wow, that is
or
cheap.
You can spend $30,000 on, one that's already done up and all functional and stuff like that. It all depends on what you want to put into it. We were lucky in this because the forestry owned it. They maintained it. They had mechanics on site and everything, so it was in good shape when we got it and everything. So we were lucky for that way. We did have to upgrade. They had taken the direction lights off, all that kind of stuff, so we had to put all that back on because they used it on other trucks, pot stealing. But again, you go on eBay and look up military headlight, and they're there. You can buy stuff from eBay, Craigslist, everywhere.
Wow.
Easy to get parts.
That's good to know. That's good to know. It's an interesting truck. It's got an interesting history to it. And it looks to me like it's in good hands and it'll be around for a long time.
And that's why we're here. We're a Massachusetts Military Vehicle Collectors Club, and we're here to preserve the history and let everybody know about the vehicles so we can preserve that history.
Well, you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you very much.